Hello, class. Before beginning my presentation, I decided to do research on the Olympics, and I came across a lot of very interesting websites that were very well written describing impacts of hosting the games. It became hard for me to originally pick which articles to do because I felt like there was so much to offer from all these different articles. Both of my links to articles actually discuss both the pros and cons of hosting the games. In the Journal of Economic Survey article, I use this as my pro argument for hosting the Olympic Games, and the article by the Northwestern Sports Analytical Group as my side that is opposing the games for the host country. In the Journal of Economic Surveys, the article is titled Assessing the Olympic Games, the Economic Impact and Beyond. This article was a more broad article that reviewed the evaluation of the Olympic Games on their significance as cultural assets and opportunities for domestic growth and sustainable development for the host city. The study in this article reviews main approaches to the economic assessment to the games by focusing mainly on cost benefit analysis on both ex ante and ex post basis. The main point that this study wants to point out, which is for me, it was very interesting and is a big reason why I chose this article, is the fact that these studies, known as econometric studies, catch persistent benefits that is often um, ignored in macroeconomic and trade variable studies for Olympic Games. So this is a very well put together paper that takes on specific mathematically proven benefits in hosting Olympic Games that tend to be ignored on a macro scale when evaluating these mega events. And obviously, it's a big deal because these events are so controversial to host in the modern world. In this paper, they begin their discussion that the Olympics eminently are public good and it generates external effects, which influence the productivity of tangible goods. And then intangibly, the games, for lack of a better phrase, they put the host country on a map, which can act as a magnet for domestic and international tourism, and it can accelerate the process of enhancing a country's international profile. This can be especially important for developing countries, which normally have a lot of debate regarding whether they are in a good situation to hosting games, which this article is trying to show that it may be beneficial for them to do so. With emanating intangible effects, there are many tangible economic effects that occur as well. To name a few, but not to go into crazy detail, it includes economic activities, or an increase in economic activities, job creation, and ultimately a rise in living standards, to name a few. Urban and infrastructural benefits are also mentioned as a major benefit to hosting the games. Olympic Games trigger large-scale urban developments, among other things. I mentioned also social, physiological, environmental, and political benefits as well that all help to boost the host nation's economy and general standard of living. For me, this article does a great job of assessing both sides of the argument for hosting Olympic Games. While many studies are coming out demonstrating the extreme costs and hosting these mega events is unfavorable for the host city, the study surveyed in this paper suggests that there's a positive empirical evidence that there can be a net gain to hosting Olympics despite the negative costs that are associated with it. My second article takes the opposite side and it shows how hosting the games isn't worth it, hence the title, which is it worth it to host the Olympics for the Olympic Games? The article discusses the daunting task of financing the economic games and leads to discuss how ex ante models, which are usually used to assert economic benefits, tend to be they tend to be an inaccurate evaluation of the economic success. There's a stark disconnect between these ex ante and these ex post studies, with ex post being more commonly now believed to be more accurate. These ex post studies find significantly smaller impacts than were predicted before the games. And counteracting the first article, which highlights the growth of international recognition in tourism, this article denotes this and says that the Olympics don't promote tourism and is actually a net negative economic impact following the games for tourism. Costs and finances is another primary point to this article that reaped from financial and economic standpoint. Though through the bidding process, the preparation phase, cost overruns, and operating costs. This article suggests that the current state of hosting Olympics makes it nearly impossible for the host country to receive an economic net gain in both the short and the long run. The author brings up an interesting point regarding the bidding phase, and it's this: it's if the way in which the Olympics was changed, hosting the games could be profitable and it could be economically feasible for a profit. But a large part of it comes from this original bidding phase, which like takes the success way down, like because it's such a costly part of the games, and it's not even helping to build the infrastructure that is necessary for the games. So here's my conclusion. Both these articles are very well articulated, and to be honest, I agree with both sides and both authors. However, I tend to agree with the second author in the sense that there's a more firm state and argument that was given, and the first article assessed that there could have been benefits. It showed both sides, and it kind of took the side of a pro, but it it still was more like a it can be. It's not. It's a definite pro. So I agree more with the second author in a way. Even though the second author talks about the pros as well of doing the benefits or of doing the games. Um, like the current state of it isn't exactly profitable, especially with the bidding phase. So, and from an economic standpoint, like that's very important for a country to decide, and that's why I tend to agree with the second article that negates and opposes hosting the Olympics in the current state that it is right now. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of my presentation, and I'm eager to read your guys' articles as well. Thank you.